Now we're on H. This gives people some fits. A sample of the expected structure of your resulting data. What would it look like in a data file? Right? Okay, so you collect all this data. You say, "Oh, I'm going to get surveys." Well, yeah, but now you're going to need a data set. You know, what would that look like in, say, an Excel file? So let's go see what they do. So here they have data. Data collection was completed by surveying students. Total 200. So they're replaying how they did it. Is that really necessary? Probably not, but it's not bad either. And so they say gender was assigned a numerical value of 0 or 1 randomly. Now here they're getting into how they generated their fake data. Okay, so because they just made fake data, and then they said, oh, 0 represents males, while a 1 represents females. Okay, and so males, I guess, would have been the base case, and females the dummy variable that goes with it. And if you were to do regression, because this is a categorical variable, and they still haven't mentioned that it's a categorical variable. So they still seem to be missing out on telling us what types the variables are. And then they generated a random grade point average for people. And so probably, because of the way they generated these things, they're probably not going to find anything statistically significant. They'll probably have a pretty big p-value because if everything's just random, then yeah, things should be relatively independent. But they looked at continuous data. So here, finally they mention a data type, continuous data, between 2.5 and 4.0. Okay, so they've kind of got that. They still haven't really said categorical for the gender, but they have that as some more data. And so here they're showing us a data file. And I guess it's been sorted, because here are males to begin with, athletes, non-athletes in column C, and their GPA, and now there is a problem here with their data. Okay, just the way it appears here is, I see 1 gender but 2 people. Nowadays we seem to be able to have 1 person and multiple genders, and I'm not, well, I am sort of making fun. I mean, it's just, it's humorous that we could go the other direction here, in that, sure, I mean, there are people who might claim more than 1 gender depending on when it is. So that I understand, but I don't understand how a person could be a particular gender but be both an athlete and a non-athlete in terms of this study. And so something is wrong with their data file. Okay, really it should be something more like maybe a couple columns or 4 columns. You could have athletes and non-athletes. Now what I would suggest, and I can't really write it on here very easily because I don't have it set up to write with here, but what I would suggest is, actually, I would think, each row would be a different person, and what I would have is 1 column would be gender, another column would be basically athlete yes or no, because whether they're an athlete is a a variable, right? I mean, that's the important variable, and it doesn't seem to be set up that way. So I would have gender, and then like athlete status or something like that is the name of this column, and these would also be zeros and ones, or yeses and nos, or A's and N's, or something like that. I'd probably just go zeros and ones. But each person has a particular gender. They're either an athlete or not, and that would be maybe column B. And then in column C, I would have their GPA. Okay, so this is really not a good data file here. It would need work. And so, think about that is most of our data that we work with, it's each row is one observation, but here a given row appears to be more than one observation, and I'm just not sure what to do with this gender thing with the two athletes here. Okay, so something looks bad about this data, and so that's not good. But what's nice is they've got the basic data. They've got things there that hopefully they figure out somewhere or other. And then they kind of showed how these data would look with some plots. So this is the idea, here's a table. It says you need to include tables where necessary and so forth. And they mention they've got table 2, table 3. They tell us what table it is. There's table 1 with a caption to it. That's good. They mention table 1 before they show you table 1. That's usually typically what we do. And notice this flows pretty well. And then they've got these different tables. And so here for male athlete, they've got some athlete, I guess here. Lost an L there, but that's okay. I know what they mean. So male, female. I saw the M and the ATH over here. I want math. Male, female. And they got these medians and so forth. Okay, here's all females and all males, just a general one. And what's this? All student athletes, non-student athletes. So here they had it broken out into 4 different groups. But here they just put it as male, female, or athlete, non-athlete. Yeah, so here you go. Now, reorganized into the 3 columns. This is what their data should have looked like. Now, I had it in a slightly different order, right? I said gender, then whether they're athlete or non-athlete, and then the GPA. But you see, this looks correct. So, they probably, I guess, when you come back up here, they were probably trying to show us how they made the data, how, they just made it up. But again, I don't know, something seems off on it. So I'm not sure I would have put that in there. But definitely, this is what you want, because this is what their data would look like. Okay, they would have for each person, they would have that person's GPA, that person's gender, and whether that person was an athlete or a non-athlete. Okay, and so that's their data, and it's there. But again, I think it's a little weak, and partly because they never mention some of the confounding, and they are sort of slow to get to this notion. They never even state it, but to get to this notion that both gender and athletic status are categorical variables that they're dealing with, and so that part's a bit weak, and just kind of how they get to all this. A little confusing, I think, to me. They don't really tell us why they did these, and they mentioned that they're used for box plots. Well, but they don't show us the box plots here, so I'm not sure we'd want them here. This might be good information, but I just don't know that it belongs here. Okay, so that's their data section. Then it's to results, right? So that was the H, the data. Now I, sample, tables, graphs. Now we hit some of that, and I probably, I don't know if I'll have a specific I here. Yeah, maybe I will. But we'll call that good for H, and go on to another video.